Okay, we are recording. Okay, so welcome to week 2. Still have people joining, so just hang tight.
Others.
And 20 is 38. I've got 37 participants, so that's me. So I'm missing a couple of students.
Here, you want to come over and tell her? Berger's having issues with her connecting, like internet.
Yeah, that's why, that's what, oh, wait, wait.
Okay,
Oh, so we gotta put her name in this one too.
what?
Berger's having issues with her Wi-Fi.
Okay,
She's-
is she
she's
on?
good.
Are you on campus?
Yeah, because we just got done with the class.
Okay,
I'm just sitting here in the room.
okay.
I didn't have enough time to go all the way home.
Oh, no worries. Is she in the same room with you?
She's over on the other side of the room.
But her internet won't connect and yours will?
I'm on my iPad, so I'm using my phone
Oh.
service.
Got it. Okay,
I don't know.
okay.
Her.
We'll just have her keep trying.
Okay.
She said keep trying.
I have to restart my computer.
Can you use your like hotspot?
I'm trying on my phone for now.
Okay.
Hello, Professor Marvel.
Hi,
This is Marilyn Connor.
Marilyn.
Professor Connor, yeah. I'm their instructor.
Pardon me?
For med search too.
Okay,
I just wanted you to know they're here in my classroom and Roger's having trouble.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go over there.
okay. Okay, I'm gonna mute you, Alexis, okay? With the background noise? Oh, you're already muted. Okay. Okay. So while they're getting set up, welcome to week 2 of community. Quick question. How was last week for you? Does anybody have any questions about the orientation PowerPoint and any information that was presented to you last week? Excuse me. Because we went over a lot last week. Nobody has any questions. Okay, if I could have everybody on camera, please. I'm looking at a few ceilings. I need to see everybody's face. Hey, Joanne, I can't see you. I think I can see Camelia. I can't see you. Teresa, I can't see you. There you are. Okay. All right, now I can see everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So nobody has any questions about last week? Okay, so for this week, what I'm going to do is review, even though I sent you a recording in last week's announcement with the week 1 content, we're going to review the week 1 content and we'll do the week 2 content. After that, we'll take the quiz. Okay, don't take the quiz until we all are finished the content because we have to take it together in a proctored setting. Okay. Let me, few housekeeping. I'm hopefully going to send out at the end of this week, early next week, the groups for your week 7 assignment. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that. I would highly encourage you after today's lecture, if you have a minute, to go in and fill out your HESI prep for what you can fill it out for up to this point after week 2. Last night, I sent out the schedule for the whole term for the exam reviews and the HESI reviews. Did everybody get that? Yes, no? Okay, so there is a
Yes, we
reason,
did.
pardon me?
Yes,
We got
Thank
yes, I
you.
received it.
Thank you. There is a reason we do the whole term in one, we send out the whole term to you so you can try and plan ahead. Okay, work schedule, school schedule, whatever. So if exams 1, 2, 3, and then HESI. Okay, and remember week 10 with that HESI review, you have exam 3 that week. And that's also the week of HESI reviews because you jump right into HESI in week 11. Okay, so remember that. So if you can get to reviews, great. It is factual that if you attend a live review, scores are higher. So if you can try and get to one, that would be fantastic. We will share all of our recordings for all the reviews. So you'll have 3 opportunities for a live session, and then you'll also have 3 recordings. So you get all the recordings from all 3. Okay, and those will be sent to you during the week of reviews as they come in. Okay. Let's see what else I put in your announcements this week. HESI review schedule, week 2 announcement and information, message from Dean Brown. So there really wasn't anything other than the HESI review schedule or the exam and HESI review schedule, right? You guys did most everybody did an absolute fabulous job on your first discussion question, identifying a vulnerable population. So if you want to use that same population and build off what you submitted for your discussion 1, that can be the start of your vulnerable populations paper that's due in week 10. Right? Because your week 10 assignment is kind of an extension of your discussion 1. All right. I need to make sure that everybody is using the HESI prep from week 1 in the announcement. Right? Nobody's using week 9, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I've put in a ticket to have that link taken out in week 9. I'm not sure if they can do it this term, but anyway, use week 1. Okay. So week 2. What are we covering? What are we covering this week?
School nurse and lead exposure.
And what?
Growth and
Lead
development.
exposure. Lead
Childhood
exposure.
ailments.
Yep. That's big. I can tell you right now that there are questions on every single childhood ailment in your notes. So please study those. So I sent you in my week 2 announcement, I sent you kind of a summary, what topics we're going to be covering. Remember in your readings, when it gives you simple pages, That's all you need to be responsible for. You're not responsible for the whole chapter. You're simply responsible for the pages that are listed. And I just copy and paste this from the syllabus. Okay. What does it mean when it says see Canvas course? Where are those readings?
In the module.
Imagine.
Everybody know where to find those? They're right in the modules. Okay, work on HESI prep, be prepared to do quiz 1. You'll be working on, let's see, today or tonight. Your initial post from your discussion 2, the common childhood ailments, is due tonight. Then after this discussion question, there's no more for the rest of the term. Okay. And then here's the notes for week 2. And those notes are organized based on the blueprint. Okay, and the blueprint simply outlines the concepts on the exams that are going to be covered.
But did
Okay.
you, on week 1, you said that HESI prep was on week 1. I don't see it in the modules. I know you showed us, but I don't see it.
That's okay. It's in the announcement.
Okay.
So go under week 1 content, information and attachments. It was our introduction week. It's right at the bottom. Did you find it?
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's start covering some content. Okay, let's do a review of last week. All right, so I'm pulling up our blueprint notes. Last week we covered introduction to community nursing, levels of prevention, healthy people 2030, and then we did an introduction to vulnerability. Okay, so tell me, let's talk about the difference between community-oriented nursing and community-based nursing. You have to know this since this is kind of the foundation of understanding this class. What's the difference? Without reading this.
Community-oriented
Or-
nursing is something that is involving the overall population or the overall community, and then community-based is a certain group or a certain individual that is gonna be that you're teaching.
Yeah. Everybody understand that? Good job, Jacob. Anybody want to add to that? So in community-oriented nursing, I look at this as big picture nursing, big picture public health nursing. Okay, you're primarily focused on health promotion rather than illness care. All right, you're focused on the population or a group of people within the population rather than individuals. So I consider, well, I think of it as orienting yourself to the community as a whole. Okay, we're community-based. I remember it as being based in the community. Okay, whether you're a school nurse, a hospice nurse, home health nurse, occupational nurse, environmental health nurse, public health nurse, doesn't matter. You're based in the community. So for example, during my 20+ years in school nursing, I was a community-based nurse because I was a school nurse. I was based in the community caring for ill students. Okay, so community-based nursing is focused on illness care instead of health promotion and health maintenance. Okay, this third definition here, public health. So public health is public health is part of community-oriented nursing. So community-oriented nursing is a big, big umbrella. We include public health under that as well. Right, so when we think about public health, community-oriented nursing are often used to mean the same. Okay, public health is really a combination of nursing and public health science, health promotion, maintenance of populations. So it adds the the public health science on top of the community-oriented nursing. Does anybody have any questions about that? Because you are going to be asked to know the difference on the exam. Okay, this is an important concept to understand. Anybody
I
any
have a
que-
question.
Yep. Go ahead.
So for community-oriented nursing, you would say an example would be like promoting health, like, holding like programs to educate people
Mhm.
on, let's say,
Mhm.
how to prevent cardiovascular diseases and stuff like that by maintaining a good lifestyle. And then
Correct.
community-based is focused on now treating the illness that
Mhm.
a certain community has.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Any other questions on that? Let's talk about levels of prevention. Okay. We're going to talk about levels of prevention this entire term. Okay. We have a primary prevention. I do P with P. Primary for prevention, secondary for screening, and tertiary for treatment. The one thing we have to be able to do is each topic that we cover this term, we have to be able to come up with our primary, secondary, and tertiary interventions based on the topic we're covering. Okay, so if we're doing primary prevention for the rural community, that may look different than primary prevention as a school nurse. And that may look different with primary prevention activities for the occupational health nurse. My point is that we're always going to have primary, secondary, tertiary interventions, but we have to be able to shift those based on the topic we're covering. So back in the old book that we used to use, well, and it's actually in some of the books that we're using now, there used to be a teaching box in every chapter, and every chapter is a different topic that used to give examples of primary, secondary, and tertiary interventions for whatever the topic of the chapter we were covering. Okay, so let's talk about all three. Primary, we are trying to prevent a problem before it occurs. And that's not only an illness or a disease. That could be, we're trying to prevent an injury. We're trying to prevent an accident. So maybe we're doing helmet teaching, safety helmet, seatbelt, substance abuse prevention, immunizations, safe sex, prevention of STDs. Okay, so we're trying to prevent something before it even occurs. Okay. Secondary, screening. I also think of secondary as early identification, early intervention. Okay, we are trying to identify at-risk clients, populations. If we can early identify something and provide early intervention, early detection, then we can maybe kind of stop what may be developing in its tracks. We're trying to reverse the course. So for example, mammograms, blood pressure screenings, scoliosis screenings in schools,
Eye examinations.
eye examinations, BMI checks, maybe risk for obesity, risk for substance abuse, risks for depression. And screening is done in many different ways. It could be surveys. It could be questionnaires. It doesn't matter how there's many ways to screen, but we're screening. We're screening for potential problems to try and reverse the course. So if we, in the schools, if I did healthy lifestyles, obesity prevention, And we identified 24 students that might be at risk for obesity based on genetics, family history, maybe current height and weight. We have identified them as at risk. So then we do our programs teaching to try and reverse this. Tertiary is pretty easy to remember. It's treatment. The main thing you have to remember with tertiary is they already have to have something. They have to have a condition or a disease or have had an accident or had an injury. Okay, so now we're trying to manage that. Treatment, management. We may be trying to reduce the symptoms or improve the quality of life or focus on recovery. So tertiary, they have to have something.
Would rehab fall under tertiary?
What?
Rehabilitation?
Yeah. Well, something's already happened. Yes. They've
Yeah,
already had a
okay.
stroke or they've already had a TBI. Yes.
Professor, I'm sorry. Can you blow the screen up a little bit? It's kind of small. Thank you.
How's that?
Much
Okay.
better. Thank you.
So the one thing I want to elaborate on is a lot of students link education, teaching and education to just primary. We're teaching to prevent. And I don't want you to get hung up that education is only part of a primary intervention. That's why I like to use the words P for primary, S for screening, T for treatment. And you notice education is not linked right now. And that's because education is involved in every level of these interventions. Okay, so think about it. Primary prevention, we're educating to prevent. Okay. Secondary, we have now identified a risk, early identification, early intervention. So now we are educating on reversing the course or preventing complications. Right? And then tertiary, we're also educating because they have something, they've had an injury, they have an illness. We're now educating on helping them manage whatever they have going on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So don't
like,
go ahead.
sorry, but I understand more while using examples. So I was just asking, would it be okay to say like for primary, like I said, the person who has chronic heart failure or heart issues, maybe you educate them for primary, let's say they don't have it yet, but you tell them like for you not to get this certain condition, you have to, avoid a lot of sodium in your diet. And
Okay.
then when they get it, eventually for tertiary, it would be now that you have it, you have to reduce the amount of sodium.
So
in your diet.
let's go through all three. Did you say cardiovascular issues, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's start with primary.
Mhm.
Okay, nobody has anything yet. What kinds of things, what are we going to do to try and help prevent that? What would be a primary intervention for cardiac disease?
The specific
Exercise.
diet.
Teaching about a
smoking.
healthy diet, healthy exercise, because nothing's happened yet.
Yes.
Okay, well now
Avoid
we're in
smoking,
second.
avoid alcohol.
Yep. Well, now we're in secondary. The primary care doc, they've gone to the doctor and their blood pressure's a tad on the high side. They haven't been diagnosed with hypertension, but it's a tad on the high side. So we've now screened them and they're at risk. Now what do we do? For secondary.
Probably set them up with a dietitian, trend the blood pressure and
Mhm.
encourage exercise.
Yep.
Monitoring of the blood pressure regularly.
Yep. We're trying to reverse the course. We're trying to get it under control before they actually come across with a diagnosis of hypertension or cardiovascular disease. Great. So now they didn't follow any of our instructions, or they're genetically predisposed. And now we're at the tertiary level because they have been diagnosed with hypertension. Now what do we do?
We probably have medication now, so you have to teach them on how to,
Yep.
keep up with the medication and how to keep a low sodium diet and
Okay.
yeah, and to exercise frequently. So with exercise, I think would fall to on primary and tertiary too, because you
Absolutely.
also
Yes.
exercise to manage the disease.
Absolutely. Okay, so
Okay.
we just played through one scenario of cardiovascular disease and identified primary, secondary, and tertiary. Does everybody follow how we went through that?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Because there's several questions on, oops. What did I just do? There's several. There's several questions on each exam about levels of prevention. Okay. All right, let's go to our third topic, third concept for week one, Healthy People 2030. Did you guys have a chance to look at the website? It was part of your assignment. Healthy People 2030 is really interesting because this is the fourth version. We started with Healthy People 2000, and then we went to Healthy People 2010, then 2020, and now we have 2030. And if you look at the website, it really gives you kind of a neat timeline of how the overall goals and objectives have developed over the years. Okay, so Healthy People 2030 is national objectives. It's for the whole country. And it tries to incorporate everybody. Okay, national goals and objectives to improve the health and well-being over the next decade for everybody. Okay, so obviously, if it's trying to include everybody, it has very broad and ambitious goals, right? And we're working towards achieving those goals with numerous strategies. If you look through their website, you can see how many categories, how many subjects, how many interventions, how many that it covers. Does anybody have the chance to look through it?
I looked at a section.
Okay, and what did you find it intriguing?
Yes, it had it's actually building for the Healthy People 2030, it's actually building on knowledge gained and lessons
Exactly.
learned to address the latest public health priorities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just has stuff like attain healthy, thriving lives, eliminate health disparities. It's like a guideline to show people how to,
Exactly.
live
And
healthy.
so it's important for you. You are going to have some Healthy People 2030 questions on your exam. This is what I would like for you to primarily be aware of. Okay, is the overarching goals. Okay, so let's go through them. Remember, this is for everybody. Attain healthy, thriving lives and well-being, free of preventable diseases, disability, injury, and premature death. Wouldn't that be a wonderful goal for everybody?
Mhm.
Gosh. Eliminate health disparities. What are health disparities? What's a disparity?
Is it like potential
Like
risk of
like obstacles that's in your way.
Say that again, Joanne?
Is it like obstacles that's in your way?
Yeah, disparities. So one of their overarching goals is to eliminate health disparities, achieve health equity, attain health literacy, and to improve the overall health and well-being of all. We'll talk about this down the road, but health literacy is a huge barrier in healthcare. And it's not meant to be condescending. If you're healthy literate versus health literate, health illiteracy creates a lot of problems. Whether it's a language barrier, an understanding, a cognitive, a knowledge deficit. Health illiteracy is a big, big problem. So that's why one of the overarching goals is to attain health literacy. Next one, create social, physical, and economic environments that promote attaining the full potential for health and well-being for all. That's a big one, right? Social environments, physical environments, economic environments, that covers a lot. That's a very broad goal. But we talk throughout this class about social environment barriers, physical barriers, economic barriers. So, and a lot of this class is a good part of this class, a strategy for teaching this class is based on Healthy People 2030. Promote healthy development, healthy behaviors, and well-being across all life stages. Engage leadership, key constituents, and the public across multiple sectors to act and design policies that improve the health and well-being for all. Okay, so we want to engage our leaders, our political representatives. Okay, let's talk a minute about social determinants of health. What's a social determinant? What's a social determinant of health? Okay.
Is it like the way someone's environment affects how they live life?
Exactly. That's one piece. Yep. Right? These are conditions. Social determinants of health are conditions in our environments where people are, depends on where you're born, where you live, where you've gone to school, where you work, play, worship, and age. All these affect health, functioning, and the quality of life outcomes and risks. When we look at social determinants of health, we group them into 5 domains. And this is for every community. Okay, some may be more economically stable than others. Some may have better education access and quality than others, but these are the domains. We look at economic stability, education access, healthcare access, the neighborhood, and social and community. So think about it, these domains. Think about if you live in a community that's not economically stable, there's a lot of unemployment. Think if you live in a community that has poor schools or failing schools. Think if you live in a community that has limited access, a lot because the unemployment rate is high and it's a lot of poverty in the community, the access to healthcare is limited. Think about a neighborhood that is in poor shape. The roads are in bad shape. It's very close housing to each other. Not a lot of support services. Okay, think about living in communities like that. Okay, the risks of health issues and health disparities go up exponentially, do they not? Yeah, they do. We know that these social determinants of health, which we just went through up here, have a major impact on people's health, well-being, and quality of life. So we talked about a few of these: safe housing, transportation, and neighborhoods, racism, discrimination, and violence. What if you live in a community that has crime issues, gang issues, violence issues? Social determinants of health also look at education, job opportunities, income, access to nutritional foods, physical activity opportunities. Are there parks? Are there rec centers? Are there sports teams for the kids to play on? Are there after-school activities? Are there summer camps, activities for the kids to participate in? What about if you live in a community that has polluted air and or water? What if you live near a large transportation hub, an airport, near train, where a train goes through. You live near an industrial site. You live near a waste site. You live near a river or lake,
If you live near like a radiation power plant.
radiation. You live near a power plant. And then language and literacy skills also play an important part of that. Lots of our communities are full of immigrants, lots of different cultures, lots of different languages, and lots of different levels of literacy. Okay, so all these play a huge impact on how the community functions. Well, how the community, remember, in the community versus, so in the hospital, you have your patient, right? In the community, your patient can be an individual, a family, a subset of the population, say the homeless or the elderly, or it can be the whole population. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have you read the rest of the social determinants of health. That last paragraph, introduction to vulnerable populations. Okay, we all live in communities that have every community has vulnerable populations. What are our most vulnerable populations in our own communities? I'll start. Homelessness,
Elderly.
elderly,
Veterans.
veterans.
Mentally ill.
Mhm.
LGBTQ.
Substance abuse.
Mhm. What about kids?
Children.
Yeah, thanks, Julia. Kids. What about pregnant teens? What about human trafficking? What about victims of domestic abuse? What about
Victims of incest. Like that.
What
That's
ab-
bad.
what?
Oh, so like sexual abuse.
Yep. What about adults with disabilities? Children with disabilities in the schools? We could go
Homeless.
on and on and on. What about the
Mhm.
non-speaking English family?
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, think about it. There's so many vulnerable populations or people or families in our communities. Right? So, vulnerable groups can be based on location.
Mhm.
We've talked about that. We've talked about children as being vulnerable. We've talked about the elderly being vulnerable. We didn't mention the chronically ill. The chronically ill are vulnerable. Right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Right? We know the chronically ill, they take up a lot of resources, a lot of care. Okay, we talked about non-English speaking families or people. The one thing I want to talk about is resilience. Resilience is an important word in our profession. Okay, we and you, I'll speak for myself, I and you all, I would consider us very resilient. What does resiliency mean?
It means to be able to adapt to stressful situations and keep moving forward.
Excellent. Anybody want to add to that? So I consider all of us resilient. Why? Well, because I'm old. I'm old and I'm still teaching and I'm still walking and talking. So I've been resilient through my entire nursing career and just keep moving forward and doing what I love to do. I consider all of you resilient because you are working really hard through a very hard program. Okay, you have multiple classes. This is a hard term. Okay, and you are somehow, with your strength and your time management and your study skills, are managing to push through this program. That's resiliency. Because I'm sure that everybody has stuff going on outside of school. Right? I'm sure that we all have personal issues, family issues, kids to take care of, school, work. Right? So we're all resilient right now. We're pushing through, as Tina said. We are pushing through. So as we offer up our resiliency and our skills, what do we do with clients or patients? How do we help them become more resilient?
We
Because we know
educate.
that the more resilient our clients become, the more we can help them reduce their risks. So how do we instill resiliency in our clients?
Maybe we educate, kind of get them into healthy habits of, and kind of understand where their points of view are in certain aspects and kind of where you need to build from.
Excellent.
You identify like the weaknesses or where they lack, and then either set them up with the resources to help with that and educate them what to do and where to go to look for resources.
Okay.
Just build a good rapport with them and
That's what I was gonna say.
good communication, and just don't compare your own situation with theirs. When they're trying to tell you what's going on with them, don't be like, oh, I also have this going on and I'm managing it. You have to, you know, understand where they're coming from without instilling your own problems to theirs.
Let them tell their story. Right? Let them trying to develop first and foremost, in order to develop resiliency, we have to establish a trusting relationship with our clients, just like you would do in the hospital. They have to trust us before we can really motivate them to try and be as resilient to risks as possible.
For an example, like in a community setting, is like if you're at someone's home and like you can't just go in there and start barking orders. You have to build rapport with them and everything and build that relationship first before being able to solve anything else.
Exactly. Okay. We know that resiliency can be influenced by early life experiences, negative events in childhood that aren't dealt with through counseling or other approaches can decrease resiliency. All right. We always want to try and build the confidence level of our clients. And in the community, maybe a family. Right? Or it could be the elderly diabetics in the community, increasing their resilience, their confidence. See, in the community, like I said, your clients can be anybody. Okay. So those who feel more in control of their journey will have less risks, right? They'll be more confident to minimize their risks versus the opposite. So resiliency is a concept that will be asked about on the exam. Okay. And then disenfranchisement. What does it mean to be disenfranchised?
Feeling like they're just abandoned, like nobody cares for them.
Like they're outcasts.
Yeah,
Outcasts. They
just
don't fit
facing
in.
everything. Mm.
Yep. They're just kind of separated from everything. Okay. We see a lot of feelings and disenfranchisement with the special vulnerable populations, the homeless, right?
Mhm.
The migrant workers. Think about the migrant workers. They're kind of our silent workers, right? They're the ones who do all the heavy lifting, right? To get food in our tables. I'm not sure how much they feel part of that process. Same with the homeless.
Maybe people with mental illness.
Mhm. Just feeling like invisible to society. Okay, so I want you to read through the rest of these bullets with regards to introduction to vulnerability. The one thing I do want to address is poverty. Remember this for this class. Two things to remember. Poverty is the primary cause of vulnerability. That's a fact. Poverty is the primary cause of vulnerability. The other factual statement I want you to remember for this class is that the health of a family, the health of an individual, the health of a community is directly related to the financial stability of the family. Would you guys agree with that?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yep. So there's two things I want you to remember. Poverty is the primary cause of vulnerability, and that is right here. Okay, that's right there. And another way of saying that is the functioning of the family function, whether it's positive or negative, is directly related to your economic stability. We're kind of saying the same thing. Okay, so if your family is economically unstable, parents aren't working, look what happened during the pandemic.
Mhm.
What happens? Less access to everything, right? Versus a stable income. So family functioning, family health, family success, family function versus dysfunction is directly related to the economic stability of your family. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's jump to week 2. Let's talk about the school nurse. What do you guys think a school nurse does?
Clean scrapes
Educate.
and
What?
administer daily medications
Mhm.
and take care of handicapped children that are there.
Mhm.
Educates.
Okay.
Provides like they can also be case management, like case managing just in case if a child might be dealing with possible abuse. As a
Mhm.
nurse, we are an advocate of abuse, at least for children, specifically for more children. And we are obligated to report if any possible abuse is occurring.
Great. You know, school nurses play an incredibly important role in the team, the school team. Okay, when I was growing up, we went to the clinic for Band-Aids and a hug.
Hmm.
Right? Now I can tell you, I'm retired after a year, but I did 20 plus years in the schools. In the I do G-tube feedings, J-tube feedings, trach suctioning, replacing G-tubes if they fall out, cathing, male and female students, insulin, diabetes management, insulin injections, insulin pen injections, insulin pump doses, seizure monitoring, emergency seizure medication, Diastat, EpiPens, inhalers, oral medication. I guess my point is school nurses play a very big part of the success of students. Okay, because we have a very inclusive school environment where we do incorporate even the complex chronically ill kids. Okay, so school nurses play a big role in the planning, well, in the nursing process. When you're getting new kids to the school and assessing what their needs will be, coming up with plans of how to support the student in the school, whether it be physical, emotional, psychological, getting PT involved, OT involved, speech involved. So we're very much a part of the special ed team. Okay, we help develop IEPs so that we make sure that the students have all the support that they need. And of course, we have our regular clinic where the students visit us all the time for a variety of reasons: illness, injuries, medication, bumps in the head, itchy head, maybe lice, rashes. Okay, school nurses really elevated their level of transparency over the pandemic, right? Because COVID was a public health emergency. School nurses play a huge role in helping to get through the pandemic in the school setting. Okay, we also direct caregiver, which I told you about, educator. We're always educating students, especially staff, administrators, parents, doing EpiPen training, seizure management training, diabetes training, helping parents with new diagnoses and understanding them. Okay. Case manager, like Jacob said, nurses are always working as a case manager. We're always the organizer of care. Okay, so in the very complex students, like I said, you may be coordinating, working with speech, PT, OT. You have to do your own physical, direct caregiving tasks. Okay, we also are very involved in the community. All right, participating in health fairs, vaccination clinics in the school, information nights. Okay. And then I do want you to read, this is a good section, but read on your own, please. This goes through, I've put together primary prevention in school setting, secondary prevention in school setting, and tertiary prevention in school. And this is particular to the school setting. Okay. So I want you to have a look at that section. Okay, family nursing, family health risks. What's a family? How do you define a family? Is there a one definition family anymore?
No, there's not.
No, you could consider anybody family. They don't have to be blood related.
Exactly. Family is now for people. Family is now considered anybody who provide physical, emotional, and financial support. Family is really whatever your client says it is. Right? There is no traditional. There's non-traditional families are non-traditional families are the norm now. Okay. So then we talk about the difference between a healthy functioning family or an unhealthy. Healthy or functional, unhealthy or dysfunctional. Those are all synonymous. Okay, so we have 5 functions of a family. This is every family. Based on this course, based on the way we approach community family assessments, we consider 5 functions of every family that we look at. And here they are: financial, health, reproductive, socialization, and affective. Let's talk about that. In a function, the examples given here with these 5 are for functioning families. So think of the opposite for dysfunctional. So planning for the future, making good financial decisions, providing housing and insurance. That would be what a functioning family would be doing. So think the opposite for dysfunctional. Health. Teaching healthy behaviors, teaching health maintenance, providing caregiving. Reproductive. Responsibility for having kids and being able to care for those kids. Or having a lot of kids and unable to financially support them. Socialization, okay? Trying to raise our children to fit into society, to become productive, responsible, well-adjusted adults. Maybe passing on spiritual, religious, or cultural beliefs. That's a functioning family. And then affective. We're assisting with creating a sense of identity, a sense of belonging through affection, love, spending time together, bonding together. So each family is looked at through each of these functions. Some may be stronger than others. Some may be more functional than others, but these are the 5 functions we look at. Okay, so failure to meet these functions leads to dysfunction, stress. What happens when we fail to meet these functions? Maybe increase in substance abuse, anxiety, depression, violence, missing work, risky sexual behaviors. Okay, we know that family is our first and most important safety net. And also a very important social support system. Okay. Family health risks. Okay, so disease develops in families or individuals in families with 3 contributing factors: genetic, environment, and lifestyle. Okay, maybe genetically you're born with certain predispositions. You're born in a family that has a increased rate of cardiovascular disease or cancer or substance abuse. Okay. Environment. What kind of environment are you in? Physical environment, social environment, political environment. You live in a high crime neighborhood. Pollution, high stress environments. Do you live in a community that is big on discrimination based on ethnicity, social status? Okay, so the environment creates a set of risks as well. And the behavioral, these are your choices. Okay, what you choose to eat, whether you choose to drink or not, whether you choose to be obese or not, whether you choose to, it's your choices. Your choices, your behavioral choices, if not good choices, lead to your risks, right? All right, common childhood ailments. I'm going to have you read through this section on your own because this isn't the first time you've been introduced to these. Okay, you've heard these in peds and probably med-surg. Okay, but know that you're going to be asked about each one of them. What I want you to think about when you're thinking about these common childhood ailments is our next gen format is taking the knowledge and applying it to a clinical setting. So think about questions on the exam being case study based. A child presents with asthma. Make sense? So think of the questions being asked in a more clinical setting. Yes, you have the knowledge, but can you apply the knowledge to a kid who comes in with asthma symptoms to the clinic? Okay? So I ask you to think about, it's fine to memorize all this, know all this, but you have to be able to apply it to taking care of a client with something like this, or a kid. Okay? I always use the example of, where's our, okay, let's take eczema, for example. Okay? Most treated via control, itching, inflammation, dryness. So if somebody presents with eczema, how is it most commonly treated? Does that make sense? They're presenting with it. Now we need to talk treatment. Think ahead in your nursing process. The assessment's done, the diagnosis is done, the interventions are being planned, right? And now you're evaluating. So that's the next gen part of it. Is you're evaluating the interventions you've set forth in place. Make sense? And that is in the clinical setting. All right, so hopefully you've read through this because your quiz 1 is based on both of these two sets of blueprint concepts. So that's the content for weeks 1 and 2. Helpful? I need everybody to turn their cameras on, please. I can't see everybody when I'm sharing my screen. I've got a couple of students that their cameras are off. Thank you. Helpful to review week 1 content as well. You have a better understanding
Yes,
of these
most
topics?
definitely.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to ask everybody to do, it is 2 o'clock. I'm going to ask everybody to pull up quiz 1, and I'm going to give you 15 minutes to complete it. It has to be proctored, so everybody has to stay on on camera. Okay? I opened it up, so everybody should have access to it. So go ahead and start doing quiz 1, and we'll come back in 15 minutes, and we'll spend the last 15 minutes going through it. Okay? I'm going to mute everybody as well.
I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick.
When do we start?
Please start now.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, you got 15 minutes. Okay, you got about 3 more minutes, okay? And make sure you hit submit when you're done, please. Okay, how's everybody doing? It's 2:15. I have a lot of people who haven't hit submit yet. A lot. So if you're done, please hit submit. We can't start going through it until everybody submitted it. Is there anybody still working on it? Nobody's still working on it. So would everybody hit submit, please? Let me go back and check here. Okay, let's see. I have Sia, I don't have you submitting it. Christopher, I don't have you submitting it. Sorbia, Soriba? Kidra? I don't have you submitting it, so I need you guys all to submit it, please. And I have numerous.
Mine just submitted on my end.
Okay, thank you. And let's see. Mildred Ollie, I need you to submit. And that's it. Kamar, Sariba, and Christopher, and Sia. Okay, everybody submitted? Okay, Christopher, did you submit?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's go through it. How'd you do?
Not as well as I would have liked.
Okay. Well, let's go through and see what we got going on here. Oops, I gotta share my screen. Okay. All right. Which is an example of community-based nursing practice? What's the correct answer?
I put,
Educating a child and school teacher on the use of an inhaler.
Correct.
that's
What?
what-
Why is that the correct answer?
Oh shit, I missed that one. Oh.
because you're focused on the
Teaching
individual. and-
Individual.
An individual issue.
Yeah, you're community-based, right? You're working in the community, and we talked about school nursing, hospice nursing, home health
Nice.
nursing. You're
You do that
based,
till you won't pay one more key.
pardon me? We talked about you're based in the community. So in this case, it's a school nurse, right? Working with the child and the teacher on how to use an inhaler. If you look at the other three answers, what are they?
It's all community oriented.
It's all community
Oriented.
oriented, right? Looking at the big picture, developing a teen pregnancy prevention program. That's big picture, right? That's for the population. Evaluating the outcomes of a community vaccination program. That's big picture. Providing diabetes diet education prior to hospital discharge. That's big picture. It's talking about all patients. Anybody have any questions about that? Question 2, describe the purpose, which describes the purpose of the Healthy People 2030 campaign.
The first one.
It provides the framework to improve the health of all Americans.
That's correct. Okay, so we talked about this just a bit ago in lecture, that it's a national agenda that to trying to incorporate everybody. So that first one should have been a dead giveaway, right? It doesn't focus on the most common chronic diseases. And it has nothing to do with a standardized nursing curriculum. And it certainly doesn't focus on individual health. Right? Does anybody have any questions on number 2? And number 3, which is true regarding uninsured versus underinsured individuals?
They are more likely to be
Be-
diagnosed with advanced diseases
Why is that?
because
they-
they don't have the
they-
insurance or financial stability.
So they don't go to the hospital to,
That's right. That's right, Chris. Right? They have less access, underinsured, uninsured. The chances of them having less access or them wanting to go see a primary care or being able to go see a primary care are less. And when you're not focusing on your primary care, you tend to show up with a later advanced stage or a worsening condition than if you were to be seeking preventative care. Okay, so C is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Right, the rest of the three other answers are the opposite. They're less likely to attend well visits. They're more likely to develop preventable diseases. And they're more likely to need governmental resources. Okay. Question 4, which client belongs to a vulnerable population? Select all that apply.
B, C, D.
But the 26-year-old pregnant woman.
Why would a 26-year-old pregnant woman be vulnerable?
Not.
Be more
She's,
specific with pregnancy.
She's at a healthier
Her
age
age,
to
her age.
susceptible to healthy pregnancy.
And there's
Her age.
She's not a teen.
We
I
look
think-
at teen pregnancy as the vulnerable population. Teen
Yeah.
pregnancy.
Chose that 26.
Right, because 26-year-old that doesn't necessarily mean they're vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're focused, for purposes of this class, we're focused on teen pregnancy. So the 26-year-old is not considered a vulnerable population, nor is a 23-year-old. The correct answer is B, C, and D. A veteran, somebody with substance abuse, somebody with HIV.
Whoa.
What?
Nah, I chose 26. I chose that 3 and I chose 26. I don't know why I chose 26 anyway.
Remember, it's a teen pregnancy.
Yeah, now I know. Wow.
Wait,
Chris,
so
you
the
gotta pay
answers-
attention. You gotta pay attention there, Chris. Attention
so
to
the answers-
detail. Attention to
So the-
detail.
So the answers were B, C, and D?
B,
or-
C, and D. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, resiliency. Which statement reflects the term resiliency as it relates to vulnerability?
A.
A is the correct answer. Why are the rest incorrect?
Yeah. Because when you're resilient, you're less vulnerable to certain risks.
That's right. And C, resiliency depends solely on genetic predisposition. No, we talked about genetics, we talked about environment, we talked about behavioral. It's not just genetics.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Number 6. Which child should the school nurse care for first? And let me, before you answer, this is a priority question, okay? This is a good example of questions, wording of questions you might get in an exam. What are some
Hey.
important key words to look for in a question?
Rush and A.
No, Chris, it's B.
Oh,
Right.
it's B.
B.
First, so we're
Right.
thinking ABCs, safety. Why
Oh.
is the 9-year-old need to be seen first?
As he called.
Breathing,
Airway.
Airway.
Yep.
And unable to participate in physical exercise class. So
So I
This
have
is-
a question. I'm sorry.
Hang on. These are the symptoms of maybe an impending asthma attack,
Asthma.
yes.
right? Okay, go ahead, Tina.
So this was one that I struggle with a little bit.
Okay.
So the 13-year-old complaining of burning and excessive tears in the left eye.
Mhm.
So that one I was thinking it was like a systemic reaction. So it's strictly, we always go by ABCs. It's never like.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, always
So,
airway.
so let me ask a question, Tina. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Where did you get the thought process that it might be a systemic infection?
Or like a systemic
Could've
like
put it this way.
response, like
Does- Does it say that?
No.
no,
say
I'm
don't
looking at
add.
the, hold on, let me respond to her, please.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at it says burning and excessive tears in the left eye. So those are symptoms that of whatever is going on, like some kind of histamines or something was released. I don't know. So
Or they
I
could have
guess
poked, poked their eye with a pencil.
that's true.
So so not to put Tina on the spot, but here's something I teach in my review sessions. Okay. And Tina did this. Okay. And Tina, don't take that the wrong way. What I'm saying is, if the information is not in the question, it doesn't exist. Okay. So Tina, there could be a gazillion reasons why they're burning and their eye is tearing. Right? But we don't know why. All we know, I mean, these other three are eventually going to get seen by the nurse, right? We're just looking for who has to be seen first. Okay, that's what the question asked. Who has to be seen first? ABC's safety. But please remember, that's how students get into issues with overthinking. Okay, if the information is not in the question, forget it. It doesn't exist. Okay. All right, question 7. Which food should the nurse recommend for a child with iron deficiency anemia?
Egg.
Eggs.
Why? Why is it eggs?
It's a great source of iron.
Anybody have an issue with that answer?
No.
Okay. 8. School nurse notes a dark discoloration along the neck crease and the armpits of a child.
B.
Which,
B.
why?
Yeah.
That could be diabetes.
To obtain a full medical evaluation.
Hey, what is a dark discoloration along the neck and neck crease and the armpits? What is that?
Diabetes.
It's diabetes.
Hyperpigmentation.
It starts with the N. I don't know how to pronounce it. I know I'm going to butcher it.
Anthracnosis, right? Negrins. I have a hard time pronouncing it. And this is a potential early sign of diabetes, right? So the only correct answer is to suggest a medical evaluation. We're not going to be suggesting they use any kind of cream or change their diet. No, this is something that the child needs to get a medical evaluation for. Okay, number 9, which nursing intervention is priority? Another key word for a child experiencing developmental delay. Think of what we're covering this week.
Hey. Evaluate environment for potential lead exposure.
Right. We have no need for a developmental delay for us to assess lung sounds. Family history, sure, we might need that, or somebody might need that down the road, but that's not immediate. And we would not advise to increase iron in the diet until we knew what was going on, right? So potentially lead exposure can lead to developmental delays, and since that's one of the subjects we're covering this week in our common childhood ailments, that's the correct answer. Last question. The nurse notes a child's BMI is the 90th percentile. Which intervention is appropriate?
C.
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 C. B.
Okay, the correct answer is C. Why does this student need an urgent medical evaluation?
Or she just sit there and eat watching TV. Or whatever. That's probably how they get.
Yeah. So
There's not enough activity.
next time
It says refer for urgent medical evaluation, so that could be, have that weight from either being sedentary or it could be a genetic disposition, but we can't, that's something for a physician. That's how I thought about it. I didn't really think about giving advice to a parent because I didn't think it was in my scope to do that.
Yeah, because the BMI, so that's why I think the kids just not doing anything, no exercise. So less
Right.
screen time.
Less screen time is the correct answer. As far as referring to an urgent, I think the word urgent is what is what I think that's the incorrect word in that answer. I mean, yes, a medical evaluation will be needed. As far as sense of urgency, it's not urgent right now. You're probably going to be told as parents to try and reduce the screen time and get them up and exercising and see if you can start to bring that BMI down. So C is the correct answer.
So any bonus math?
What?
Bonus math?
Did you say points back? No.
Any bonus math?
What?
Bonus math, like some
I
free
don't, I don't understand what Chris is, what is Chris saying?
I
saying
don't
a
know, but can I
bonus.
leave?
Don't worry about
Chris,
it.
can you
Not
please be
short.
quiet? Can we leave yet?
math.
Can
No,
we leave yet?
Yeah, if
Leave
you can
where?
good to go.
This
1:30.
class. With the,
Good to go. If you want to go, go, man.
Oh
Damn.
my God.
Okay.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you.
Okay.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking.
Okay, everybody. Yasmin, I need you to stay on after, please. I'm done with, don't click off yet, please. Has this class been helpful?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Did you
ma'am.
learn-
Yes, most definitely.
Yes.
Can I say something?
The 2
Yes,
months,
ma'am.
is it a good pace for you to go through?
There's
Yes,
the
ma'am.
questions to the
Hello.
quiz like were
I'm-
very, most of the answers were close to each other, but I think it just helped us critical think more.
Yeah, yeah. And if you notice, the questions are clinical questions. They're people presenting with the knowledge that you're learning. So now you have to be able to take the knowledge and apply it into the clinical setting. That's your clinical judgment.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am. Hello.
So, okay, hang
Um,
on, Sorbia. I can excuse everybody else. If you have a question, you want to stay on, that's fine. But it's good to see everybody and have a good rest of the week. You guys know where to reach out and find me if you need me.
Good
okay,
afternoon.
ma'am. I just have.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I have a
That's all right.
question. For the
Hang on.
quizzes, they were
ahead.
not posted, the quizzes were not posted in the modules because I didn't see this until you did it later. So how are we supposed to know
You're
if we're
not.
looking in the modules? So we're not gonna know when a quiz is, it's just
No,
when you
I
put it in.
I don't turn the quizzes on till right before class.
Okay,
Yeah,
so they're not even, I mean, usually in classes, they're still in the modules, but just locked. So yours are not in the modules at all.
They're in the
Mine-
modules. I just haven't turned. They're in the modules. I just haven't turned them on until before class.
Yeah, it shows it.
I think
Oh.
she's saying that it's not like, you know.
No,
for-
I didn't see it
like
at,
us-
no, what I'm saying. is I
Daisha,
didn't see
Daisha,
it
I
at
got
this
you. I'm about to
second.
send you something.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, who else has questions?
Miss.
One
Miss
second.
Kathleen?
Yes, 1 second.
Um,
Let's have everybody log out. That's
Yeah,
not.
I have a little concern.